What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now Plus. I'm Alex, and in this video, we get to talk about potentially a Persona slash Yakuza jumping into movies and television. Now, when I first saw this article, I thought, gee, I think I've heard this before. And actually, I went back to check on this very channel back on June 30th, 2022. We had talked about a news story, again, that Atlas slash Sega, really does seem like Sega here, they want these IPs that they have to jump into other things, not just games, but in terms of movies and television. And back again a year ago, maybe actually at this point like a year and a half, right? They had talked about Persona. Now, I said actually the title of that video is I Don't Want It. I would actually still agree with myself. I don't think it's a great idea. I'm generally anti-games jumping to movies and television, so granted, I do have a bias. I normally don't like any of them doing that. But when it comes to something, I mean, I love these franchises, okay? Persona and Yakuza. Now, both very, very different. I feel like, is it possible? Yes, I think it is possible. Specifically, Yakuza, I do think it could work. Maybe it's like a television thing. Persona, I feel like just would be extremely, extremely difficult. So, I mean, there's a lot of relationships in those games, and there's a lot of story in those games, and that I'm sure you could adapt, as long as you don't like mess anything up. But so much of that game is also the building of your kind of your class, your characters, right? Your party, and what moves you're gonna do, and then just battling it out time and time and time again. And you can't really, I guess you could a little bit. It would maybe be a little bit like Yu-Gi-Oh, like on a smaller scale. You'd have to keep battles, I would say, probably to a minimum, right? But I mean, is it possible? Yeah, I think they could work. Are they going to do it? Well, ultimately, it doesn't really matter what I'm saying. It sure sounds like, because the news story we have here is actually from Sega's chief operating officer, and this came from Video Games Chronicle, but it was an interview done with CNBC, and he was talking about Sonic going into Roblox, and actually they're going to be working with Lego, so Sonic, I guess, is coming to Lego. And they also talked about, obviously, the movies, and the movies have really worked with Sonic. And then they go on, they say, we have other major IPs, and also I cannot say too much about it, but we were thinking of reviving other classical Sega IPs too. So that's a little hint maybe to the future. But then he keeps going and says they have two other big IPs other than Sonic. They have Persona, and he talks about the Persona games, and then he says Yakuza, and they talk about Infinite Wealth. But also, as I say, we are trying to be in a lot of different kinds of businesses, additional areas like Roblox and movies. All these IPs can be somewhere else other than games soon. So considering we've talked about this a year and a half ago about Persona, considering this guy says soon now, I think it's pretty reasonable. And look, we've had reports, I guess also confirmations, over the last like 2 or so years. You got BioShock, you got God of War, you got Horizon, you got Life is Strange is supposed to still get a TV show. That was announced years ago, and nothing's really happened. There's supposed to be a huge amount of these, games turned into movies or television. We've gotten some, and some have been okay, some have been better than okay, some have been, whatever. Uncharted, Last of Us, Twisted Metal, to kind of give some, really Sony is kind of carrying it right now, not in like the greatest way possible, but in terms of releases, Sony is kind of carrying the torch, and maybe Sega should step up, or Xbox. Halo was absolutely terrible though, that's probably why I forget it. But no, I think this is going to happen. You'll probably see something move in this direction over the next year or so. Will it come out in the next year or so? Probably not, but you would get further confirmation that it is real. You can label, if it's going to be a show. I think both of these should be a show. You got a 50-50 shot if it's a show or a movie, right? But I think both of them, Yakuza as this, mafia, but like crazy, over the top kind of thing. I don't know if that would translate, especially because, like, specifically Yakuza, like, Kiryu is so, and Majima and all, like, they're so important, and specifically Kiryu. And it's like, if you're going to do it, would you follow the games, or would you do your own thing? And if you do your own thing, I don't have a ton of faith you'd be able to do it well. If you did follow the games, well, the biggest thing would then be, would it translate well? Could you actually do it? Especially, like, and I've gotten so used to it, and I've talked it over time and time again, like, play those games in Japanese. Do not play them in English. Japanese is the way to go. Specifically because I think Kiryu just does such a great job, or the actor. So, if you're going to do that, and you're going to use him Do you have to find somebody that kind of represents that? That would be, I think, extremely hard. And like I said, Persona, those games are kind of just like giant. They're absolutely massive. So I really don't think you could do that as a movie. That would also, without a doubt, Persona would have to be a TV show. And then if it is, I don't even think it should be live action, but if it would be live action, again, you have a 50-50 shot, I guess, of it working out. And do you follow the games? Like 3 is obviously having such a resurgence, and 4, Golden, and 5 has obviously been so popular and continuing still right now. Would you do like the Phantom Thieves? Could you do that? I don't know. It is exciting in a sense, but it also scares the heck out of me. And ultimately, I just prefer to leave them alone. There's such great games. There's so many great games just in the world. And why roll the dice that you could potentially majorly screw it up? And some of these you will. I mean, we've talked about it before. If you think all of these announced projects, Assassin's Creed, like we can keep going. Assassin's Creed, I think Tomb Raider, like all of these, well, the Tomb Raider movies, the movie wasn't even good, right? It's like, do you want to roll the dice? Because a lot of these turn out to be average, below average, or again, some maybe a little bit better. I think Twisted Metal actually worked extremely, extremely well. Last of Us, I liked it in the time. I feel like time hasn't been great to it, where like right now I'm like, like it came and it went, and I don't need any more of it. I didn't really need season 1, but it was fine. So I don't know. You got a 50-50 shot. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.